I'm attracted to twins, actually. It's like a thing. It's a reoccurring thing throughout my life. I had friends who were twins growing up. I dated a couple of twins as well. But I'm not a twin. But I like the idea of being a twin.
Were they identical twins? Like, did you ever mistake the other one to be the other one?
Yeah, they're always like, I think I'm mostly attracted to those that are identical. There's something about them. They look the same.
Did you ever confuse them?
Yeah, I did confuse once.
I'm from a beautiful place, the Pearl of Africa. Hailing with a 256, it's in my blood. That's a gem where the mountains rise. With stories untold, the tapestry of cultures unfolding, so vibrant and bold. A symphony of stars, a celestial light. The drums beating, echoing through the night. Just like a beacon of light, a reflection that's coming up from the Nile. I'm flowing straight into the heart of Africa with timeless stories untold. What's up, dog?
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's go.
Welcome once again to the Ugandan Boy Talk Show for another episode. This is a podcast where I bring you your famous people, the regular people, anybody who wants to come here to share their story, their journey, and have a good time. I'm very honored to have Lamu Sounds on the podcast. Lamu, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, honestly. It's been a long time coming, actually. We've been trying to to do this for quite some time now. So, yeah.
So your name is not actually Lamu. It's, I was trying to practice it. It's
Ahlam.
Ahlam is my...
You'd be like saying Ahlam. Ahlam.
Okay.
Ahlam means dreams. Ahlam means utopia. Ahlam means daydreams. It's an Arabic name. And Lamu is a nickname that I've been called like my whole life since childhood. Lamu. So when I got into music and entertainment, I asked myself, what would I want to be called? And I was overthinking and I just like came down to what I've always been called, Lamu. So, yeah.
And why did you choose to add sounds to it? Because it's usually like production companies that usually use sounds.
By the way, Lamu Sounds is not like my official name. It's not my official name. I think it's a username that I use across my platforms just to have like a similar, like if someone is to ask me, where can I follow you? I'm just be like Lamu Sounds. It's like, it's a username. It's not like my actual like stage name. My stage name is just Lamu.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Ramadan is around the corner, so we have to get that out of the way. Are you a twin?
Am I a twin? No. But I'm attracted to twins, actually. It's like a thing. It's a reoccurring thing throughout my life. I had friends who were twins growing up. I dated a couple of twins as well. But I'm not a twin. But I like the idea of being a twin.
Were they identical twins? Like, did you ever mistake the other one to be the other one?
Yeah, they're always like, I think I'm mostly attracted to those that are identical. There's something about them. They look the same.
Did you ever confuse them?
Yeah. I did confuse once. But most times I know the difference. And most times, like the one I'm dating, the other one becomes like my brother, however much they look like the person I'm dating. For real, like the other one already in my eyes, it's like I can just know either they have a scar or one has a scar and one doesn't. But the other one just becomes like a brother to me, like for life. Yeah. So I don't want this narrative. I don't want people to think that I want both of them or something. No, definitely not. It's like one of them. The other one is my brother.
It's like buy one, get one for free.
Yeah, I don't want people to think, I'm into some crazy, like weird stuff. No.
So on my podcast, I have like 3 segments that we go through. And I have some this or that questions that I want to ask you. And this or that, you're gonna pick one of the two, and you can tell us why. Or if you don't want, you don't have to. You can say next.
Okay.
You're into love of wildlife from what you do You're also into music. There's a lot of things that you do. Actually, you were telling me, but so this or that is covering a variety of that. The first question is studio sessions or live performance?
Man, definitely studio session.
Why did you choose studio session? Is it like because you're cooking something?
Yeah, I think for me, I've realized something about myself is that the creation is always more fun for me than all these other things like the execution and marketing and, anything beyond that. I do love performing live. I love it. Like, please give me more gigs. It's very fine. I will come for them. I will perform. But I think I enjoy creating more. Like the creation process is so much fun. And yeah.
Mountains or beaches?
Mountains, I love both. I love nature, but I will go with the beach.
Okay.
Water over anything else, the beach.
Writing lyrics by a campfire or in a quiet studio?
You know what? Why not? Campfire.
Serenading wildlife in the forest or performing under the stars? I know you do a lot of wildlife. Like, have you ever sang being out there and you just start singing for them?
At the zoo, yes. I was singing for the animals at the zoo. I think also there's a time we visited Lake Mburo National Park and it was quite early. So I was like humming and singing and stuff. But I will go with performing under the stars.
Because I've noticed that you actually sing your songs when you're out there. Like we're going to talk about like the zip lining where you were singing Paula, when just going down the zip lining to playing the songs. Like it's pretty fun. It's like I think it's like a good combination to be a musician and then loving wildlife, because you could just sit out there and start singing for these lions. Like you just sing the songs.
I think for me, music is like how do I say it? It's what brings everything together. Like I do so many things and I don't think like I was ever meant to be one thing, but I also don't want to be like all over the place, like doing all these things. So for me, music is the one stable thing that just connects everything else. Like if I could go for my travel, like shoots, I take the music with me. And if I could go into like, because I did international relations and diplomacy. I actually graduated this year with a first class. So that was fun. Thank you. So that was fun. But also music goes there. People are like, oh, how does music and diplomacy go? I think with influence that you can get from music or that I get from music, from people seeing me singing and performing, I think it's easier for me to influence anything. If I want to be a policy maker, policy changer, policy implementer, like someone doing groundwork in the community, I think it's easier for people to trust, someone who is like not an elite, an elite politician. Like to see a musician that they love and care about, I think that's very special. And that's what I aim to do with my music. Yeah.
You talked about actually graduating, because I had that down. We're going to talk about it earlier, but now since you brought it, we're going to talk about it. You graduated first class. First of all, congratulations. I'm going to say it again.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm waiting for my gift. The year has not ended yet.
Tuja.
Yeah.
But you did Bachelor's of Arts in International Relations and Diplomatic Studies.
Yes.
This is not even... Like you did that in school. Do you practice that? Because most of the time you're singing or you're in wildlife.
So in my high school, I actually did sciences. I did biology, chemistry, and math with the aim of getting into medicine. But that did not work out. Long story short, I disobeyed people and I went after... music. And I think after COVID, after the whole experience with COVID, music being down and, like places of leisure and, concerts and everything just being down, us being stuck at home for like all those months, almost like a year, 2 years, I think it opened something in my mind or heart or something. Like I just felt like I needed to go back to school. And when I found myself back at school at Victoria University, I was like, what course am I going to do here? Because I have a science background, but I don't want to be a doctor. So what am I going to do? And I just discovered this. I discovered this course, International Relations and Diplomatic Studies, where you get to learn about like international relations, basically everything that how governments run, how international organizations run, how international like individuals like all these relations that go on, how the world works, you know,
Right.
and also to become a diplomat, meaning in case of cases of like conflict issues, like how do you carry yourself as a leader? And it's just a very interesting course, honestly.
Yeah.
Like it's, yeah, when I looked into it, I was like, this is actually what I want to do. I want to learn how the world works. Like, how are these people, you know, the governments,
Yeah.
why do we still have war? Why can't we have peace? If we have so much food being produced in certain countries, why are other countries starving? If a country like Congo has all these resources, why are people still poor? You know? So
Right.
it was very interesting, and it is still very interesting. And I see myself practicing as a leader. Like I said, I think recently we were talking on WhatsApp, I think a few weeks ago, I was telling you about my initiatives that I've been doing, like those charity things, things like that. Like, I don't have $1 billion. I'm not a millionaire yet. You know, I'm
Right.
still coming up.
Yeah.
I'm still making money and figuring it out. But I know a lot of people who want to help. So I usually come organize, you know, with these communities. You might find some families or a school or a mosque or a church, whatever like is in the community that might need some help. So I get that information together and I come out to my following and, you know, hey guys, we need mattresses, we need this, we need paint, we need to build this school, we need to buy maybe water containers for the latrines or da-da-da. And people just kept donating. And so it's a thing I do. So I see myself putting in my school knowledge into that, like probably open up a foundation one day, you know, and just like do it on a larger scale. So, yeah.
I like that because you've covered a lot of things that actually I was going to ask you about, which I really like. And going back to a question I asked you about what you studied and what you're practicing right now, it's actually pretty cool that you do all these things, that you're able to do all life on top of the degree you studied. I am an aircraft mechanic, so I fix airplanes. But in college, I went to college.
Oh my God,
and
my dad was a pilot. He's retired.
Oh, really?
So in another life, you guys would have crossed paths.
That is true. So I also did culture anthropology in college, where I study about the relationships between people from different cultures, different countries, which I'm not practicing like per se, but doesn't mean that I'm not using it. It's like it is helping me to relate with other people, that if somebody's coming from this background, it's something that I'm doing from personal life. So listening to you that you're using actually your degree for the things that you do, it's not a waste of time. Like people might ask, like the way I asked you the question, okay, you went to school for this, but now you're doing this, but they don't understand that you actually use it in your day-to-day life to do other things on top of what you're doing.
It was in fact very intentional, which I think for anyone watching, you know, a lot of people are dropping out of school. School is becoming more or less like something that's not so important, but I think education is still very important. Like we don't need to be a generation that doesn't study, especially Ugandans. Ugandans were known as people that study, are educated. So we shouldn't lose that thing. Like we should stay in school, but I think just be more intentional about what we study. Because there's a lot of stories of, I spent 5 years doing engineering. Me, I didn't want, it was for my parents. Like, let's stop that narrative. If we can, let's be more intentional with what, if I want to be in music, can we have more schools offering music classes, you know, like music business classes? We need things like that. Like we need our people and our young people to be like very intentional, not just like falling in cups, you know, like people just fall in cups and they're like, maybe I'll be a lawyer. But then after 4 years of law school, you realize you don't want to be a lawyer. So.
And you've wasted time and money.
Yeah, I know I did, but my story is different, you know?
Yeah, but still you're using it. Like, I don't think it was a waste for you from what you've explained. So, but anyway, I want you to take us back. We've talked about your music. You do music. Take us behind the scenes of the Infinite EP. We all listen to the EP. It's still streaming. And if you've never listened to it, just go to all the platform where you get your music to listen to it. But for the listeners, for the fans, I listened to it and I had Mike Mungu here talk about one of the songs again.
Yeah.
But I just want you to take us behind that, your thought behind it. I know it took about a year for you to even put it up, which you released it in, was it the 22nd of August this year?
Yes.
So take us, most especially, I just want you to bring us about in that year, your preparations, what your minds were at,
Yeah.
what you were thinking.
I haven't really talked about this publicly yet, but I think, okay, I was recently talking to my producer Boris, and we talked about it, and I told him, I think it's time like people found out like, what's been going on with you. So for those who don't know Boris, like Boris One has been making music for quite some time, and he's made hits with like Peter Miles. Like he's made like multiple hits, especially in the dancehall side. But how me and Boris come together, it's through Trendsetters. Boris is someone that has been, giving me beats and things like that. So, and he's also been like my music engineer. So mixing and mastering, it's been Boris, and that Lamu sound from No Pressure and from Infinity, it's been Boris. So the delay with the EP, it took actually like 2 years for that EP to come out, and a lot changed. Like we kept adding songs, removing certain songs. There are newer songs like Mpola came out, after working with Artin. We have the song with Akine and Cohen that's also there. I think that one's a bit older. Then again is a bit newer, also around the same time I recorded Mpola. But Bilawewe is the oldest of them, and that's also produced by Boris. But I want to talk about this. I've talked about so many things about the EP, how it's like a story, it's a combination of love stories, Each song represents different things, but I haven't talked about why that EP delayed. And the EP delayed because our producer Boris has actually been struggling with sickle cells, which I don't even know how to talk about it, but I think I should like shed more light on that because I've never talked about it. He was born with sickle cells, so he's been struggling. He's someone who was told he will die in his teens. He will never, make it past a certain age. But Boris is still with us, but he's been struggling. So a lot of the delays with the EP were because of that. He had all these files, he had his goals, he had to finish the EP. He didn't want anyone else to finish the EP. He kept pushing, but he kept getting attacks. There are so many times we almost lost him, and he's still struggling. We're actually doing a fundraiser for him. And but that's also something else that at least let me just shed some light on. Like people struggle with sickle cells, and it's like really out of control. I wish we could talk more about it because there are people that I've seen really go through a lot. Like Boris now, he can't work. Like right now, the state he's in, he can't work, and he is so talented. He is like so amazing, but it's out of his hands. Right now, he's battling life or death. And imagine, he was like, Lamu, if your EP is the last thing I work on, imagine. He was like, if that's the last thing I work on, that will be it. And at some point I was like, no, Boris, let's take it elsewhere. He's like, no, I have to finish the EP. So I think that's something I really want. I know that's not what you asked, but allow me just like shed light on that.
I actually love that because it shows two things. It shows you're a selfless person. Because when I ask somebody that question, they can just go ahead to promote themselves, their music and what they do, and just promote themselves. But you put that aside to highlight something that's really important. The music is good and we love the music, but life is good. Like there won't be music if there was not life. He's your producer, like he was willing to work on that. So I really love that. And the other thing is, you talk about sickle cells. I actually have a cousin who is going through the same thing, and it's a story that touches my heart. When I was in high school, they told us he's not going to live past 18 years old. And I was crying. I cried because I love him so much. And it's always been on my head. We have that in our family, sickle cell. And I know this wasn't part of the topic, but once you brought it, it's actually touching my heart. And now just being like, wanting to cry.
People have to test, right? Because you don't want the next generation to like, you have to make, all these things have to come to light with such situations because there are a lot of innocent children that come out of that and they suffer. So, yeah.
And when you were doing, because I know, shout out to Larry Hector, who did the visuals. So I follow Larry on Instagram and see his work. It's amazing. I just want to shout out that Larry, he's good, talented.
Yeah, we've been working with Larry now since August. It's been like one after the other, after the other, after the other. It's like, yeah, we have been working together like for so many projects. And it's actually a mutual friend that it has also been helping me out that connected us, and we just clicked, right? And we worked on Pola. We started working also on Lamu Serenade. We have like 2 different editions out. We also have a new video for Original that ideally is out by the time this airs. So
he's amazing. One of the times when you're preparing, I think, to do it was behind the scenes. You said something. There was a word you say, and it's on your Instagram. You said, "I wish fans knew what we go through to bring the music. Maybe they will appreciate it more." I just want you to talk about it in that way, because we demand the songs, we criticize the music, but we don't know what you guys go through. Can you talk about that?
Yes. I think most artists can relate to this, or most creators, not just like music artists. Like, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. First things first, most creatives mentally are not stable. Like, I don't know if you yourself are a creative, so I can't say that I know your mental state, but most creatives, their mental state is not like, they're not normal people. Like, creatives are not normal people. Writers, directors, filmmakers, creatives are not normally, like, they're not normal people. They don't do things normal, you know? I don't even know how that all comes together, but working with people like that for me is very important. Like, working with people like that who just who don't want to do like what everyone else is doing. You get? And they're willing to like open up. Like, now an example of the Larry thing, like, just meeting Larry was a whole other thing. Like, we'd known each other. We probably both wanted to work with each other, but how do we even connect? Things ended up happening also like that. But I think the pressure with consumers, like someone who is watching and will be like, oh, Lamu has taken so long without, doing this. They should do this. I think they forget that there's a lot that happens behind the scenes. And it's not just like, oh, there's money probably here, there's an idea, put the money into the idea. Sometimes it's beyond that. Sometimes it's also like, again, like I mentioned, the mental state or the emotional state of the creative. And most creatives, anyone who wants to get into artist management or dealing with creatives and you're not a creative, it's going to be hard for you to understand what creatives go through. Creatives are just like disturbed people, and that's why they create beautiful art. Like, a lot of our art comes from pain, and if it's love, it's like love that cracked you. Like, all I can say from my experience is creative people are very mentally, like, they're not normal. They need to be taken. They need to be taken like they are special. They are getting these ideas. These ideas don't just come to our heads. They come from somewhere. They come from like a stream, or if you're spiritual like myself, it comes from beyond, and we can't just do things just like the way a lot of creatives are doing it now. It's like there's a schedule for things. Every month we have to put out this, and then we have to make a song that sounds like this because that's what's trending on TikTok. And like, there's a way we are doing things these days. I also do these things. I'm very strategic these days with the things that I do, which is okay. But I think that pressure is gonna kill the creativity. So fans should also like appreciate that if I had put out the EP 2 years ago, we would not have Mpola. We would not have Bilawe sounding the way it sounds. We would not have Again featuring Mike Mungu, because it was produced by Clean, who I met later on. Akine and Cohen probably would not have been ready to have it out. Like, sometimes things don't happen the way we want. So I feel like the fans and the consumers should understand that a lot goes on behind the scenes. And if you want to know what goes on behind the scenes, some artists are like myself, like, I'm willing to share with people what we go through behind the scenes. Not to show that we are over suffering, but just for you to understand that this is also work and there's steps to this, and it's not just like, it just doesn't come out of nowhere that, oh, now there is money, now there's an idea, now we just, no. Like, there's a lot of ups and downs, and today who is sick, and today who ran away, and today whose power what, and today, like, so many things. So many actual. Some days you're like, is the devil chasing me today? Because what's going on? Some days it's actually like crazy. So
the other thing that I've started highlighting too is like fans or consumers have not yet realized the difference between an independent artist and artists who are signed under them.
Ooh.
They'll try to compare both of you,
Yes.
and they don't know the struggles that an independent artist go
Yes.
through, and they put you on the same
Yes.
mizan.
Yeah, that's actually very, very, like a very valid point that you put out, because they are very, very different. But also not to kind of like discourage independent artists, because we have a lot of them, including myself. I'm not signed to a label. I've partnered with people, for resources, and I've collaborated with people, yes, but officially being signed under a label, it's a very different story, especially in a young industry like Uganda. Like, expectations for the artists are very different. Most people want you to sign for like up to 10 years, which is not an easy thing to commit to. And there are different things. Different people go through different things, honestly. But the struggles are always there. Like, they are always there. But today also, not to discourage people, today being an independent artist, it's the best time to do that, because you have all these platforms. People are putting out songs and they're going viral and they don't even understand how.
Yeah.
Like, you guys I'm sure you've seen this. Like,
Yeah.
and then there's someone who has a label and they're doing all the right things and they're doing the exact things and they are failing. I'm not going to mention names, but these things are happening.
Yeah.
People are putting in money and they're putting in strategies and they have a whole team of, and then you find this artist who has the artist and the best friend, and they just be on their phone and they just record things and they go viral, and it's like,
Yeah.
so it's honestly a good time to be a creative.
You talked to me about a new song that's coming up, and I think you had touched about it. I just wanted you to tell the listeners about your future project or what's coming up in the future, or even before or after this episode drops, or anything.
We dropped Infinity, the EP, this year. We dropped a couple of Lamu Serenade installments. Lamu Serenade is basically me performing music with like live performance coverage and everything. So that's quite interesting. But I think to close the year, I'm going to close it with a single. And that single is titled Original. And it's fun. It was a very fun experience making Original. So the story about Original, we first wrote Original, I think maybe during COVID times or post-COVID, but it was like maybe like 3 years ago, honestly. And this song has just been sitting in my hard drive. And when I was looking at the demos and what song to put out next to close the year, it was one of those songs that came up, but I felt like it was missing something. So originally it was me, Raymark, and Richie, who we call Melanin Boy. And we worked on the beat. Richie worked on the beat. Melanin Boy worked on the beat. Me and Richie and Raymark started writing. And then when I was listening to it this year, before releasing it, I was like, you know what? I think we need to like take it back somewhere. So eventually we got Dr. Brain to look through it. So he looked through it. Basically, he listened, perused with his ears, and we agreed on the places that we wanted to change. So we changed the first verse, which is now written by Dr. Brain. So the verse you hear is Dr. Brain's verse. And the second verse, I wrote that, and parts of the chorus are written by Raymark, but it was almost completely produced by Melanin Boy. Now, after that, we took it to Atin. So imagine, this is not made by one chef. There are many chefs involved here, which I think is something that maybe Ugandans, we could pick a leaf more from these Western artists. Like, we don't have to work with one single writer, one single, like, there's enough Grammys for everyone. So if a song is lacking, it's always good to take it elsewhere and see where that goes. So that's what we did with Original. We took it to Atin finally, and he did those last things that is making Original sound like what it is now. And we've shot the video, audio, everything is out. So it's a December vibe. I hope everyone, Ugandan and outside of Uganda and the Basama, and everyone just has a good time to this song. Because we put in our love. I was going back and forth with people. Like, guys, I'm not happy. Let's do this. But I love the fact that the team I'm working with today, everyone is just like, they want what's best for me, but not just because it's for me, it's because of what it reflects on them. Like they also want their work to be out there. So yeah, things are looking really good.
Usually on my podcast, I sit people out for like an hour and we talk about every nitty gritty, but we had to make this one quick because of the uncertainties. But I've been honored to just learn a little bit about your music. Maybe in the future when we get more time, we'll come back here and we just jazz for everything.
Definitely.
To Gambo or nah, and even other time maybe people will have questions for you. But 3 questions I want to ask you before I let you go.
Yes.
What's a life lesson you've learned in life to this point?
I think there's so many things I've learned in life, but for now I will leave you guys with this one, is that life is not black and white. I think we look at life like there is good and there is bad, but life is a lot of things interconnected. So the more we learn about ourselves, we learn about other people, everything just makes sense. I think growing up, we think something is either bad or good, black and white, but as you grow up, you realize the heroes we thought were heroes are villains, and the villains actually might be the heroes. So I think if you're dealing with anything in life, always see the different pages that you have. Don't just judge the front. Don't look at things as black and white. There is always, there's just a spectrum, and there's a lot to figure out in between. Never just see things as what they are. There's always, I think I learned that from the course that I did. It's like, things seem a certain way, but they're not. There's always other things in play. So if you want to get ahead of the curve, always see life like that. It's just not just, there's a lot going on. So before you come to a conclusion, make sure the pages have been turned.
What gets you excited about life?
What gets me excited about life? I think love.
I
love
right
love so much. Yeah, I'm in love with life. I'm in love with life. I think 2024 is the year that I rediscovered love in a different way. Or 2023, 2024, I started to realize, this whole time I had love. I was loved at home, family, the greatest love of my life. And my friends, I have some of the most amazing friends who have supported me through a lot, And I have my fans who are not like so many yet, but they love me and they have stuck through. And they just we just have a lot of fun on TikTok and YouTube, and they just eat up whatever I have prepared for them, and they love it. So I look forward to love, a life of, just being sustained by love, because man, love is nice. It's good to be loved, and it's good to love. Yes.
The final question is a signature question for the podcast. Who would you like to see on this podcast next as a guest? And you're going to help me connect me to that person.
I have a bunch of people that I could recommend. I don't know if Akine has been on this podcast.
No, and
has she been
actually,
on the podcast?
No, she has not. And I would love to have Akine.
I think Akine is an amazing person. She's an amazing writer. And aside from just being an artist, she's an amazing friend. So I'm looking forward to seeing her here. We also have Ninja C. Ninja C is not just an artist. She's like a big sister to all of us, myself. So I would love to see her also on this podcast. I also haven't seen Cohen on this. I haven't seen a lot of people on this. I'm going to connect you to all these people.
Sounds good.
Yes.
Anyway, that was it with Lamu, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we can have you back again here for a longer episode. Before I let you go, though. Hey there, my name is Bonnie Chibuka, the podcast host of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show. Thanks for watching and listening to my podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to hit the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Also, leave a feedback on this podcast, because that's how we grow. Thank you very much, and be blessed.
Hello everyone, my name is Lamu, and I've been so honored to be a part of this episode of the Ugandan Boy Talk Show, which is a podcast, and this installment is coming out soon, so make sure you do not miss out. We talked about a lot of things. We talked about some of the reasons why my EP Infinity delayed so much. We got into some personal details and a lot of things. We just had a lot of fun, so make sure you do not miss out. I will see you guys then.